I was into Marvel for a good solid years, and I still am. But what they're putting out now is what?
Go ahead.
Well, what they're putting out now is kind of, it's all, a lot of it is like there's a vampire thing going on in the regular timeline.
Well, you know what?
And
DC did it first.
And then X-Men is like doing the from the ashes. Yeah. I just don't really, I don't want to jump into anything right now. Oh. You know what? I've been hurt before.
We wanted to talk about this.
My relationship with Marvel for a long was.
Let's wrap this up.
Let's
wrap up the show with this conversation we were having before we started recording, where it was like, so when I grabbed that, so from the library, which I don't know who donated these books to the library, but nice I feel like they know me personally because I keep finding these fucking books that I've been looking for a while. It was like, oh hey, like all that Red Lantern shit that we did for Modern Mythology and stuff. Yeah. So I found Superman Space Age, I found Dark Knight's Metal, I found Dark Knight's Metal, Dark Knight's Rising, which is like the prequel to it. Okay. And it's just like all these DC books, I'm like, what the fuck? And then East of West, which is a John Hickman book. I got the first volume. They have all like 10. I'm like, who is this fucking person? Because I need to hang out with them. Because I just need to have books that I like.
They have a lot of money that they can donate books.
So I've been reading Dark Knight's Metal because I want to do a Modern Mythology on that. Mm-hmm. And so I got the Dark Knight's Rising book, and I finished that. I have not started Metal yet.
Metal!
But after reading that, I'm like, man, this is really why I don't fucking read books in like
is the thickness,
currently
the thickness of the crossovers and shit. Dude, I gotta buy 17 issues to figure out what the fuck is going on in this one issue.
By the way, those Dark Knight's Metal covers are fucking gnarly though. In hardcover, they're amazing.
I think the Batman Who Laughs is a cool fucking character.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry.
He
looks neat.
It's an interesting character.
Sure.
All this is. But and the concept is fucking weird and dumb and crazy and I love it. But it does come to that point of like, man, if I were reading this in like 2017 or 2018 when this was being published, I would have gone insane. And this is why I don't read comics this way. Because so I'm reading this prequel thing. This prequel book. And it's just one-shots. So it's one-shots to set up the main villains of the Metal event, right? So
how many books is that?
There's 7 Batman. So there's 7 one-shots, and then there's another book called The Wild Hunt that essentially leads it all into Dark Knight's Metal. And then that happens, but don't forget, once Dark Knight's Metal's over, there's Dark Multiverse. Because Dark Knight's Metal sets up a dark multiverse. So they're saying, okay, we have the 52 multiverses of the DC universe. Well, if we have those, then in theory, we would have a negative Earth, right? So we'd have negative 52 dark multiverses. And that's the multiverse where all the bad things happen. So I'm not going to go into detail of it on this. I'll do it on Modern Mythology.
Brain fucking hurts.
But that's my point, dude. That's my point. There's those, but those are just the one-shots. That's not including the Batman, the current books that are going on that are leading into that. And then that happens, and I'm like, this is why people can be frustrating, or things can be frustrating, because I'm sure when I read Dark Knight's Metal, I'm going to sit there and be like, man, that extra context didn't really matter at all. And I know that's not true because Snyder was involved with all of it. Like, Snyder was a part of all of the Metal stuff. But it's just like,
there was a
and I understand why events like this happen. I know that comic books have to have events to get new readers, to keep current readers interested, and to have like fulcrum points in their continuity being like, do you remember during Infinite Crisis this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at some point, I'm like, this is why I don't read. This is why I read trades, right? This is why I read books that I know that it's a series that ends, or there's an ending to it at some point. You know what I mean? Because at some point, it's just too much. It's too thick. Why are we doing these 3 books are tied to this? And it's always been like this with comic books. And you and I were talking about this. This is what's so frustrating about it, right?
Right.
Because that's why you said you dropped monthly reading books. Like, you just don't do it as much.
Well, so there's a there was a crossover back in the 90s, like the late 80s, early 90s, called Armageddon 2001. And it's this is the dumbest thing ever, okay? So it introduces this character named Monarch, and you had to buy all of these different annuals, plus like a bunch of other like extant copies of stuff, of just one-shots. but the whole thing was that the original story was that they were the selling point was, hey, at the end of this, a major DC superhero will be revealed as Monarch, right? Because Monarch's this new supervillain from the future, right?
Yeah.
Somehow they fucked it up and gave up the secret that it was Captain Atom before like the first book came out. And they're like, shit, now we're kind of screwed. So they ended up making it, they ended up changing it. The point is that, like you're talking about, it's all these different books you have to buy for really nothing. In the grand scheme of things, here's why I buy books now. Creators and characters that I like. I don't give a fuck about continuity. I don't give a fuck about did I get number one. If we're going to review something, I want to get number one. Like Off-World. We're still trying to find number one. When they reprint it, hopefully we can review that.
Yeah. The Jason Aaron
Those
book,
things you want to have like the whole series, right? Or get the
like Space Age or Dark Age.
Get the collected edition.
And I will say that DC has always been good at doing like really good mini-series, graphic novels, things like that.
The Marvel ones, like Beyonders and stuff that I read, that I've bought.
Marvel's gotten better
those are
at
great,
it. But for a long time, but I mean like solo stories. Like, DC has always, which kills me that Marvel beat them to a multiverse.
Where are we wrapping this up?
No, I know, and this is my point. It ties back into my point with Dark Knight's Metal and all that stuff with the multiverse and dark multiverses and all this.
Dark multiverse,
which is my thing. Is like what baffles me about that is how the MCU won the multiverse, because like they got to it first, because that's kind of DC's thing is the multiverse.
Yeah, the whole reason why they had Crisis was because they had too much.
Every 5 years there's a crisis.
The problem with DC, and this is so dumb, like instead of having somebody oversee continuity all those years, they just said whatever you want to write, go the fuck ahead. We don't give a shit.
That's Earth 25.
And then later on, they were like, "Well, this is why Superman was purple in this issue is because it was Earth whatever."
Yeah.
And that's why there's Superboy comics and Superman comics, because Superboy was a different Earth.
Also at this point, because of the New 52 and everything.
So it just got so polluted that Crisis on Infinite Earths was meant to bring everything back down to size. But where are we now? Back to the fucking front,
and then
dude.
The New 52 says there's 50. The reason it's called the New 52, and there's the 52 book. Was
as long as we have an Earth C, I'm cool.
But they're different than Marvel because they say, hey, there's 52 multiverses. Where Marvel's are like, there's infinite. But then the funny thing is, like, there's 52 multiverses, but then there's like a negative 52 multiverses, and then you're gonna be like,
you ain't engineering shit, Antonio.
Exactly.
You know.
Anyway, wrapping it up.
Fucking A.
Let's. All I'm saying is, it was very much formulaic when you read them all together like that. If I were reading it monthly, if I were reading it in the time, it might feel a little different. But when you read all of those stories together,
just terrible.
It just seems formulaic because it's setting it up like, what? Batman did this? Because it's 7 evil Batmen are going to destroy the multiverse.
Okay.
And each issue ends the same. The thing happens. They're the evil Batman. It's over. This is what it is. And then Batman Who Laughs shows up and be like, well, you should join me. And because this multiverse, this whole universe is going to crumble soon. So you need to come with me with Barbatos. That's their god. And we're going to go kill the fucking DC universe because it's their fault. Because Earth Zero is the beginning of the multiverse and all that. And I'll talk about that when we talk about it on Modern Mythology.
Leave it alone right now.
Which
I don't need to hear that shit.
Which I don't know if you're going to be on that episode or not. But
well, maybe I fucking won't be.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.